Namaste and greetings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I'm Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, the founding minister and spiritual director. If you ever have questions about who I am, who we are, what we do, what is Spiritually Integrated Arts? What is a teaching center? What is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is metaphysical spirituality? What is New Thought? Science of Mind and Spirit? How do I become a member? How can I support, tithe, and donate? All of these questions and so many more. Send an email. You have two options. SIAADMIN, Spiritually Integrated Arts, admin at spirituallyintegratederarts.org, or spirituallyintegratederarts@gmail.com. Either of those will work. You can also visit our website, www.spirituallyintegratederarts.org. Now, you may be wondering, where else can I find and follow? There are several other social media platforms that you can also subscribe and follow. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube channel, where you can also find all of our Sunday messages and more. I look forward to hearing from you soon. I look forward to you being a part of this beloved community. Because we are a virtual community, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. This can also be your spiritual community, because you can have more than one. Anywhere that you feel supported, anywhere you are spiritually fed is home, is community, is relationship. So I look forward to dialoguing more, conversing more, getting to know you. Much love and appreciation. Live long and prosper. Chat with you soon. Take care. Namaste and greetings, and welcome to week number 3 of August. And yes, today is a day we gather over in the After Sunday Message Zoom room to chat, to fellowship, to converse, to come together as community. If you do not already have the Zoom link, send an email to either of the email addresses you see on your screen, and the Zoom link will be sent to you. I got a question for you. Do you follow us on social media? Have you subscribed? Have you shared with others the links, the website, the QR codes? If not, this is a great opportunity, a great time, a great chance for you to do so, to like, to follow, to subscribe, to share, to join in what this beloved community is working on creating, a world that works for all, a demonstration of the beloved community. So visit the website, visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or should I say X, and our YouTube channel, where all of the Sunday messages are archived for you to go back, for you to share. Maybe you want to share something from March. Well, they're all there. So go subscribe and share. And the 2 QR codes you see at the bottom of your screen, those are for Givelify and PayPal. That way you can also support financially this beloved community that is doing great work in the world. Remember those 2 email addresses that I mentioned on the previous slide? Well, send an email if you want to join in on the Wednesday night Science of Mind and Spirit discussion group that meets from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Send an email if you want to join the Thursday night discussion group, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Science of Mind and Spirit discussion group discusses what does it mean to live in this era of Science of Mind 4.0, where we make sure that our spirituality is relevant. And the Thursday night study group goes over the questions that I end every Sunday message with. Great opportunities for you to step into evolving consciousness in a community setting. So, if you want to join in on Wednesday night, send an email. If you want to join in on Thursday night, send an email. Now, remember I mentioned following, subscribing, liking, sharing, visiting the website? Well, this fall we will be kicking off officially teaching accredited CSL classes. The specific classes have not yet been chosen. We're thinking something along the lines of From Whence We Came or the Roots class, which are both history, the history of religious science. That's where we are right now, but we shall see. If you want to join in, though, you have to be kept up to date. So visit the website. And if you're interested in classes, whether it's those two classes or not, if you are interested in taking classes, both accredited and non-accredited classes, send an email to the email address you see on your screen, and we will definitely keep you up to date on all kinds of classes, such as acting as a spiritual practice, the art of storytelling, etc. Now, third week of August, huh? Third week of August. Where are we now? Oh, perfectly imperfect passions. What? Yes. As we discover our passions and purposes, we often default to judging ourselves and or criticizing ourselves and or comparing ourselves to others. Feeling somehow that we are not worthy, that we are not capable of carrying out or accomplishing our goals, our dreams, our desires, which causes us to somehow devolve into a state of apathy, stagnation, and fear. Fostering this illusion of separation, we feel paralyzed. That prevents us from stepping, leap of faith, deeper and higher into our dreams and our vision. All too often we take score too soon. We don't give enough time to allow the creative process to reveal the perfection of our passionate path through this thing called life. And by following some very simple steps, not necessarily easy, but by following some very simple steps, we can recognize that the imperfections, these things that we label as imperfections, are actually unique expressions of the divine manifesting through us, manifesting as us, which gives us the opportunity to embrace the perfection of it all. Breathe. Dr. Holmes says, if the spiritual universe were not perfect, it could not exist for a single moment. The truth is indivisible and whole. God is complete and perfect. Segue. We say that we are individualized expressions of God. We are God in human form, God as us. God is complete and perfect, according to Dr. Holmes. If we are individualized expressions of it, then that means the truth, capital T truth, of our beingness is we too are complete. We are whole. We are perfect. Breathe and let that sink in. Because I know that in this thing called life, the last thing we think of ourselves as are complete. We're broken and perfect. We're imperfect. And yet, the truth of our being, we are whole, we are perfect, and we are complete. Now, how do we navigate life with all of its quirks and mysteries and unpleasantries while still maintaining the truth of our being? We are whole, we are perfect, and we are complete because we are that which God is. We are the divine incarnating, individualizing itself. And Dr. Holmes says, you've heard me quote this many times, and I'm going to keep on quoting it till it truly sinks in. Whatever is true about God is true about you. I'm going to say it until it actually sinks in, till we start living from that consciousness. Whatever is true about God is true about you, period. So, as we look upon this thing called life, what we want life to be, straight road, easy driving. And yet, life is actually a series of twists and turns, uphill and downhill, narrow little roads. There's the life that we would like to envision, A to B, period. And it's done. And then there's the A, chicka chicka whoo goo, chicka chicka, oh, that's crooked, and then B. And then there's the A, whoosh, 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 whoosh. I'm going backwards. Actually, I'm not. Where am I? I don't know where I. Whew, I made it to B. All of these are various points, ways of experiencing life. And rather than wanting it to be that green line, that line at the top, and somehow envisioning that if it's not that, then we are somehow flawed, releasing that idea, evolving into life is all three of these options and more. There are times that we can easily go from A to B. And there are times when the traversing A to B is that middle line. And there are times when it's that bottom line, the series of scriggles and scrabbles and whoo, messiness. All of this is life expressing. And what did that other slide say? God is whole, perfect, and complete. Then that means each of these lines, the essence of it, the truth of it, is whole, perfect, and complete. Even that last one. That looks like a bunch of jumbled mess, a ball of knotted yarn. Nonetheless, the essence of it, the truth of it, is still whole, perfect, and complete. So, what happens in our lives when we step into recognizing that no matter which of these lines we are currently experiencing, we are still right where we are experiencing life as being whole, perfect, and complete? What shifts within us? What shifts within us when we no longer, wait a minute, wait. Why is her plant growing? Why are his muscles bigger? I wish I was as fit as her. Well, I wish I had the career that she has. When we stop comparing, because that's what those three lines represent, comparison. We see somebody else's life and it seems to be straight and easy and comfortable. It's just the desired path. We see someone else as having more money, the desired path. We see someone else that we deem as more beautiful, more fit, more healthy, more wealthy, more friendly, more intelligent, more muscular, more whatever. And we somehow feel that we must be less somehow. We're less cool than some of our friends. Whatever that means. Ultimately, what it means is we are seeing ourselves as not being whole, perfect, and complete, just as we are. They are whole, perfect, and complete in their own representation as an individualized expression of God. And so are we. So what happens if we drop the need, the conditioning to compare ourselves, to judge ourselves, to criticize ourselves. What if we simply sat in the idea that we are good enough? Breathe. And not just good enough in terms of, that's good enough. No, 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 no. I mean that we are enough. That we not need become something else to be enough. We intrinsically are enough. And we are good enough. Period. So if we are what culture and society calls overweight, we're still good enough. We're what culture and society would call as poor or homeless, we are still good enough. Whatever that label is that we would give or be given, the truth of the matter is whole, perfect, and complete. Good enough. Emma Curtis Hopkins said, "My good is my God." You are good, God enough. You are God enough to live your life on purpose. You are God enough to live your life in joy. You are God enough to live that life, period. Without the comparison, without the judgment, without all of that mumbo jumbo that we have been conditioned to buy into and believe. Good enough. Reverend Dr. Christian Sorensen says, when you're too close to something, it is impossible to see the larger picture. The defense system of your myopic vision will keep you from going outside of the norm and acceptable peer projection. The defense system will keep you prisoner. See, this is why Science of Mind and Spirit is a liberation theology. Our fifth principle, our fifth declaration of principles, we believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete emancipation of all discord of every nature. Of all discord of every nature. That means the defense system is lowered. Our myopic vision is no longer myopic and tunnel. It is grander. And we learn how to step outside, to be outside of the confines of the norm, the confines of the indoctrination, the confines of the domestication and peer projection, which would have us conform. Be a nice little automaton that fits in. Do not rock the boat. For to rock the boat means that you are somehow not conforming to the cultural norms. Well, I don't want to conform to the cultural norms because the cultural norms would have me believe and be immersed in the consciousness of colonization, which is the consciousness that torments and terrorizes anything outside of it. You're black, you're brown, you're a person of color. Colonization torments and terrorizes, traumatizes, and kills. You're LGBTQ. Colonization, heteronormativity, toxic patriarchy. You are an abomination, you are detestable, and you should be stoned to death. I don't want to conform to that consciousness. So this teaching gives me the ability to emancipate and liberate my mind, my heart, my being, my life. It gives us the opportunity to lower the defense system. Now, it doesn't mean that we should have no defense system. Defense systems that keep us from sitting in a house while it's burning. Yeah, that's healthy. It should be there. The defense system that says, look both ways before you cross the street. Common sense and safety should be there. But when it comes to a defense system that would keep us compartmentalized and conform to a consciousness that is non-life affirming, It's time to break free of that. It's time to truly liberate ourselves and live beyond that. So, I would like to step into the realm of a personal tale of judgment, criticism, and comparison. So, what we're going to do is look at various times, various chapters, various aspects of my personal life where I engaged in judgment, criticism, and comparison. As a teacher, well, I'm not a good enough teacher. I'm not like Mrs. Bishop. I'm not as good as Mr. Moore. I'm not as good an artist as Boris Vallejo. I'm never going to be as good as Douglas Simonson. No matter what, I can't be as good as or as or as because I'm not good enough. I can't draw from memory. I need a reference. I'm not that good of a teacher. I'm not that good of an art student. I barely graduated the Art Institute of Pittsburgh because I wasn't as good as my peers who came up with advertising and visual arts graphic ideas readily, quickly, easily. I didn't pick up the airbrush as easily as others who just seemed to be like, and it looked so good. Mine was like, what are you doing? Why are you? You know what? Mr. Webb was probably right. You're not good enough to graduate from this school. You're not good enough to even be in this school. Why are you here? I'm not a good martial artist. If I were a good martial artist, then when Sensei wanted me to get my black belt in Aikido, I would have gotten it. I'm not a good martial artist because A, B, C. Like pick a number, pick a letter, pick a reason. I didn't get to go to Ohio to study personally with Stephen Hayes, or I didn't get to go to Nebraska and study with Robert Bussey, which actually I'm glad I didn't. I didn't get to do. I didn't get to do. I didn't go. Oh, so many reasons. And then let's bring it to today. I'm not as good a martial artist as I was then because, well, two knee surgeries later, and this injury, and that, and oh, well, and then the thing in my neck. So I keep. Oh man, wow. You know, I never became an NIC certified interpreter. Not as good an interpreter as this person or that person. My receptive skills now are nowhere near what they once were. I'm just my sign language skills aren't like they once were, and even then, were they really that good? When I had pets, well, clearly I wasn't a good doggy dad because I left them to move to DC and never went back to get them, never went back to visit them. I'm not a very good uncle, not a very good friend. In fact, one of my students, Brent, I mean, yes, it was schizophrenia that made him snap, but maybe if I had been a better friend, I would have been able to help him and recognize the schizophrenia before he snapped and tried to stalk me and kill me. Clearly, I wasn't a good mentor or friend. Not a very good performer. Actor, when was the last time I was on stage? Sign language performer, not very, I mean, you know. Oh, let's not even get into the spirituality thing. Clearly, I'm not as good as Michael Beckwith, and clearly my spiritual practice isn't this or that, because if it were, then I would be able to what? Levitate or what do you think it doesn't matter what the point is, not good enough. Not a good enough dad. I mean, if I was a good enough dad, then all five of my children would be speaking to me and we'd be close and we'd be bonded. And, the grandkids would call and we would chat and we would hang out. And yeah, but, oh, and clearly I'm not a good enough brother. I'm not a good enough friend. Because if I were a good enough brother and friend, then wouldn't I be hanging out with even my siblings of choice? Wouldn't we be hanging out doing fun stuff? And but Oh, and we can't forget that I'm not a good enough son, because if I were a good enough son, then my mom wouldn't have been in the condition that she was in, and when she fell, I wouldn't have left her on the floor for 48 hours. But I was in Delaware, and I'm in DC, or I'm wherever it is that I am at the time, and ooh, I wasn't there for her. So, oh, I wasn't there for my dad either when he ended up in hospice. I wasn't there. And I know, I mean, he told me not to, don't visit. And he told me, but still. Oh, and how long did it take me to actually get a headstone for his grave? It took you an awfully long time. And if it hadn't been for other people helping you, because you always need help. And let's not forget my own health and well-being. I mean, if I had taken better care of myself, if I had been more in tune with my self-care, then I would have never gotten prostate cancer, and I would have never been this or that. But because I don't take care of myself the way I could, I don't eat the way I could, I don't exercise the way I could, I don't do any of the things I could do, which is why you follow the tail of judgment, of criticism, of comparison. Now, I share all of that to let you know that I too am on this journey. We are working together. We do not heal in isolation, but we heal in community. I am on this journey as well. Now, I do not judge, compare, or criticize to the degree that I once did, but does that mean it never shows up? It still shows up. And what do? I bring science of mind and spirit. I bring all of my spiritual practice, all of my mental health practice. I bring all of it holistically to the situation. That is our invitation. As Brene Brown says, because true belonging only happens when we present our authentic, imperfect selves to the world, our sense of belonging can never be greater than our level of self acceptance, self love. So, how much do I accept myself? How much do I care for myself? How much do I love myself? Because if on a scale of 1 to 10 I'm at a 2, then my sense of belonging is going to be a 2 or below. It cannot be a 3 until my level of self acceptance and love and self worth is at a 3 or a 5 or a 12 or 80. So our practice is in science of mind and spirit. How do I upgrade? How do I up level my self acceptance, worth, love, and care? Yes, and. Yes, and what? Discern when something is a linguistic convenience or metaphysical malpractice. It's important because the way in which we use words, it's real easy for something that's said as linguistic convenience to sidestep into metaphysical malpractice, or something that's said as metaphysical malpractice, but we try to play it off, try to gaslight it like, oh, no, no, that was just linguistic convenience. So, for example, Mike Dooley says, treating any old job as if it were your dream job is the fastest way to spark the kind of life changes that will yield your dream job, right? So, this is an example. It's linguistic convenience because when we think of any old job is not going to get you, because each of these people has a job, an occupation, a path, and yet all four of them, their path is rooted and steeped in hatred, lies, non-life affirming consciousness. How do you treat any old job as though it were your dream job to level up to your dream job, when any old job is a job of hate? right? So see, follow how? Linguistic convenience, but then deconstruct. Well, does that actually mean any old job? Well, no. It's linguistic convenience. So it's a very specific type of job. In other words, based on Reverend Ray's remix, creating the mental equivalent of your life affirming dream job is the fastest way to spark the kind of life changes and systemic changes that will yield your dream job. Creating the mental equivalent of your life affirming dream job and the life changes and the systemic changes that will then yield, manifest your quote unquote dream job. Okay? Gary Zukov says, every circumstance serves equally the evolution of all involved, offering each individual the perfect opportunity to create anew and hopefully create more wisely and compassionately. Right? It's very, very simple. Every circumstance serves equally the evolution of all involved. Every circumstance serves equally the. Did slavery serve equally the evolution of all involved? Did the Holocaust serve equally the evolution of all involved? Apartheid, right? So, not every situation. Now, once again, linguistic convenience. It's real easy to extrapolate. Well, that's not what he means. What he means, yes, yes. But if we don't deconstruct the statements, the scriptures, if we don't deconstruct the quotes, the consciousness, then we're going to be just real quick to throw out some nice little cute aphorisms and quotes and statements and affirmations and declarations that are real cute and real pithy and yeah, but they're not getting to the root or the heart of the matter. So it's important to mean what we say and say what we mean. Reverend Ray's remix. Our mental equivalents grant us in every circumstance the opportunities to heal what needs to be healed, to transform what needs to be transformed, to shift what needs to be shifted, and to actively participate in the collective evolution of all involved by taking progressive action. Our mental equivalents offer each individual the perfect opportunity to create anew and hopefully create more wisely and compassionately, both individually and collectively. This is how Viktor Frankl, in the middle of a Holocaust, in the middle of the concentration camp, could evolve, could understand, could become so self-aware. This is how Harriet Tubman, in the midst of being a slave, can evolve, can transcend, can shift consciousness, and then be a beneficial presence to others. So it is not necessarily the circumstance itself that we say, oh, every circumstance yields. Our mental equivalent grants us within every circumstance the opportunity to heal, to shift, to transform, to be progressive in our actions for ourselves individually and collectively. Liberation theology. Breathe. Raymond Charles Barker says, the goodness of life is the goodness of God. I now release all emotional power from any and all guilt in my subconscious mind. I am set free of all self-judgment and self-condemnation. Breathe. Self-judgment, guilt, shame, self-condemnation. Free yourself from it. Relinquish it. Let it go. What does it serve to judge yourself? And we say things like, well, if I am not my own worst critic, then I will not push myself to. Why do you have to be a self-critic to have conviction and motivation? Why do you need to condemn yourself? Because think about, when a building is condemned, is it sustainable for someone to live in or work in? No. The building is condemned because it is not safe. So, how does self condemnation make you a safe, life affirming being who can live out loud? Breathe. Because this is our invitation to let go of what does not serve, to welcome in what does, and then to practice it effectively. Now, if we remember, Dr. Christian Sorensen said about the myopic vision, and we cannot see from the vantage point of where we are. So think of when you are within a maze, not a labyrinth, a maze, which has dead ends and wrong turns, etc. From this vantage point, it is very challenging to know where you are, but the moment you rise slightly above, you are able to see before you even make the turn to possibly ascertain, is that the best turn for me to take? And if you go even higher, you see even more that you are then able to, before I even move, I am able to see. I am self aware enough to know. Now, this does not mean we are supposed to have perfect, quote unquote, vision, perfect sight, perfect awareness of, like we are prophetic or something. Like I already know that choice. No, but what it's saying is, rather than simply seeing what is right before us as though it's all there is, soon as you hit what one would call you're driving and you go down a street and it's like, oh, this is a dead end. Do you, I will never get out of here, for I am stuck forever? Or do you put the car in reverse, back out, and go a different way? This gives us the opportunity to recognize there's always a choice that we can make. There's always a choice we can make. So, how do we make the choice to get higher and higher? Very simply, we've made the analogy many times about taking flight, eagle eye vision. Well, as Sue Monahan and Tracy Rhymes would harass me. Tracy Brown probably would too. Would harass me about my analogies, my acronyms, and in my songs. That's fine. Because here is another acronym. Take flight. Take flight. Well, what is flight? Take faithfulness, take love, take imagination, take grace, take healing, and take truth and soar. Take them into action. Don't simply be faithful and sit and twiddle your metaphysical thumbs. Take it into action. What does faithfulness look like in action? What does love in action look like? Don't simply feel love. Be love, do love. What does it look like in action? Love in action is service. It is nurturing. It is supporting. It is helping. What does imagination look like in action? The creative process, innovation, deconstruction and reconstruction of something new. A world that currently does not work for all, deconstruct it and construct a world that does. That's imagination. Can we have the imagination that sees and is ready to step into a world that works for all? What does grace in action look like? What does healing in action look like? And I mean healing systemic issues, systemic racism, homomesia, Islamomesia. What is healing these diseases? What does it look like in action? What does truth look like in action? Take flight and soar. Reverend Ray says, moving through life is not meant to be mess free. We could stop right there. It's not meant to be mess free. How many of us try to go through life trying to be very neat, everything's got to be in its, because no mess, no fuss, no mess. Like pottery, part of the process of creation is the mess. Embrace it for what it is rather than trying to avoid the various kinds of messiness that can occur, that will occur. Then, using the totality of the tools and practices available to you, clean up, heal, and continue to create, to be messy. Live passionately, to be messy. Intentionally, and messy. Courageously, and messy. And compassionately, and messy. Moment by moment. See, the potter creates, and there's mess, and there's clay, and there's flying all, and once the piece is done, the potter cleans up. Hands are washed, cleaned up, but then they return to the pottery. They return to the clay, and it's messiness all over again. Embrace the mess. This week's affirmation, our declaration, I will say it first. And if you feel in alignment with this, if it resonates with you, then say it with me on our second go round. I am a spiritual being living my perfect human experience. Together. I am a spiritual being living my perfect human experience. And so it is. This week's questions. Where does perfectionism show up for you? In what ways does perfectionism impact your life? What do you love doing that may not appear to be perfect to others or to yourself? Number 2, what about yourself do you tend to criticize, to judge, or to compare? And how can you be more compassionate to yourself in that process? What events in your life turned out far better than you initially thought they would? What story are you telling yourself or that you're telling others about your challenging experiences? And lastly, what are 3 perfectly imperfect events that you have manifested? And what was the perfection in the imperfection? Perfect and imperfect. Simply anchoring in this thing that we call prayer as we prepare to close our Sunday message, anchoring in the awareness of the goodness, as Raymond Charles Barker said, the goodness of God. It's all there is. And God being all there is, incarnating right here and right now as each of us, that goodness is incarnating right now as each of us as well. The goodness of God is the goodness of me, the goodness of each person watching. The goodness of God is all there is. And that goodness resonates, it emanates, it is invoked and evoked through all of this thing that is life expressing as each of us. And so as we prepare to close this Sunday message and this particular manner in which we gather, we know that our emancipation, our liberation, our evolution continues to move forward, upward, progressing, evolving, shifting, transforming. that our mental equivalents are always, by our choice, being upgraded to match what is the most life affirming choices, the most life affirming way of expressing, the most life affirming way of living our lives, taking flight and soaring as the divine beings that we are. Passionate, purposeful, convicted to this thing called life. And the law says yes. And knowing that the law says yes, we allow it to be exactly what it is, answered prayer, by saying, and so it is. Namaste, much love and blessings. I will see you Wednesday and then next Sunday. Take care. Have an amazing rest of your day.